going to share my screen, run through a little presentation, and I've got a little video to play. But I was really excited when Natalie asked me to join this presentation. I work at Charity Challenge. I have done for 25 years, and we've operated this challenge almost for 25 years, and it's been a very popular challenge, but I'd never been on it. And in March this year, I went for the first time, and having trekked all of the bucket list challenges over those 25 years, this was without shadow of a doubt one of the best challenges I've ever done for lots of reasons, which I'm going to share with you. Lots of challenges are about getting to the top of the mountain or completing 100 kilometers, or the physical aspect of the challenge is the main attraction. And with this challenge, you have Hindu temples, Buddhist monasteries, you pass through local communities, you see lifestyles that haven't changed for 100 years, the way people are living. You've obviously got Delhi at the beginning, you've got the Indian Himalayas, incredible mountain scenery, but you're not at high altitude. So we don't go to an altitude at which, like, for example, Everest Base Camp, it starts to impact on your breathing ability. So it's high up enough. It's in the foothills of the Himalayas, but you've got this incredible views of snow-capped mountains, but you're not yourself at that altitude. You've got an incredible Indian food, beautifully located camps. And that's all before even discussing the actual trekking element of the challenge. So it's got so much going for it. You will visit Dharamsala, which is where the Dalai Lama is based, where he has his own monastery, which you'll visit. There's no guarantee, but we will apply for an audience with His Holiness. He's now 89, I think, so he's doing less and less of that type of thing. But in March, I was very lucky enough to meet His Holiness and to have an audience, which is part of what we try and do for all of our groups. So it's definitely a highlight if you get to do it, but it's not something that you should expect or book onto the challenge on the basis of, because there's no guarantees. But it is incredible just going to Dharamsala and going and seeing the way the Tibetan people now are, the exile community are living. And then at the end, there's an optional add-on where you can go to the Taj Mahal. So again, needs no selling. There's just so much going for it. It really is an incredible challenge. So I wanted to say that at the beginning, because a lot of what I'm going to go through is quite dry in terms of camp and food and toilets and all those kind of things, so that you know what to expect. But beneath all of that, as I say, I think the best intro and summary of this is I've been very fortunate to travel all around the world on lots of challenges, and this is, as I say, without shadow of a doubt, one of the best I've ever done. And I'm actually going back again next year with a different group because I just had such a great experience. So I'll start with that. I'm going to share my screen. Just give me 2 seconds. Okay, so you hopefully are all aware the challenge is the 10th to the 21st of October next year, so just over 13 months away. So plenty of time if you do want to join to get in shape and get ready for the challenge. Just before I go into some of the detail, I'm just going to play a video. It's just over 1.5 minutes, so bear with me. But this will give you a good idea. I guess one of the key things to watch is the terrain and the scenery. Every day is different, so it's just worth having a look to get a good idea of that. So.
We are somewhere in the Himalayas.
Really nice bunch of people. We've all started to get on really well.
Forming new relationships, creating new memories, and just taking in the views. It's been absolutely incredible.
I can't say it met all my expectations, because I frankly had no idea what to expect.
This has been a fascinating Himalayan trek, especially from engaging and immersing ourselves within the culture within the rural villages within India.
Trekking in the Himalayas, it's been a surreal journey because I've never experienced them for myself. And when you do these steep climbs where you are just super tired and then you see the mountain, you're like, all of that effort was worth it.
These treks are just life enhancing. They're just memories you never, ever, ever forget. And you go home and you're on a high.
It's been incredible. It's been one of the best experiences of my life.
Okay, so just a couple of points on the overview. The challenge is 12 days in total, of which 5 days are trekking. And I'm going to run through the itinerary. It's graded challenging. So our challenges are challenging, tough, and extreme. Extreme would be Kilimanjaro. So all of the extreme challenges are at altitude. Tough are normally also at altitude, and as I said, this challenge is not quite at that level. So it's definitely challenging. Every day my body ached, and I was pleased to reach the end point for the day. But I would say that it's achievable, especially with 13 months to go, by most people who are active, with a bit of training. So that's the level of difficulty. And again, there's a bit more of a description on what to expect to come. We're hoping for between 30 and 50 people to join the challenge. And this is the first presentation. There's going to be another one in October. So if you are interested by the end of the challenge, then by all means, the booking process is open, and it's first come, first serve. So hopefully by October, it'll just be a case of potentially filling any sort of last minute places. And then that gives a good year for fundraising, for fitness training. So that's the plan. Highlights I've already mentioned: trekking in the Indian Himalayas, spectacular mountain scenery every day. The picture on the right was just a lunch spot. Sit down and just relax and take in the scenery. Every day we did a bit of yoga and stretching. So again, normally at a high point with these incredible views, totally peaceful, quiet. Just beautiful, an incredible part of the world. Hindu temples, Buddhist monasteries. So Dharamsala, where we start, and Bir, where we're based before we do the trekking, are both quite heavily Buddhist influenced. And the rest of the challenge in the Himalayas is mainly Hindu, lots of Hindu temples. You will experience Tibetan life that first day in Dharamsala. And at the end, I mentioned already that, so the Taj Mahal, Keoladeo National Park is a wildlife sanctuary, and Fatehpur Sikri is a former capital of India, but it was abandoned. It was built over, I think, 14 years and abandoned after about 11, because they built it in an area where there was no water, and then they went back to Agra, which was the capital at the time. So it's an entire city that was built and then abandoned, and it's now almost good as new. So you can go and visit that, and that's all part of the optional extension at the end. Just a quick overview of the itinerary. So there's your 11 days. The first day is overnight on a plane. The second day you arrive in Delhi, and that evening you get on a train that goes through the night and arrives on day 3 in the morning in the north, and then it's a 3-hour drive to Dharamsala. That afternoon you walk around the Dalai Lama's temple, and you stay in a hotel that night. The following day you transfer another 2 to 3 hours to Bir. Bir is a mountain village, but it's where the World Paragliding Championships take place. So again, you can imagine at high points with just incredible views over the valleys. So that's where we're based at the beginning and end of the time in the Himalayas. Then on day 5, you start trekking. So you can see why it's 11 or 12 days in total and only 5 days of trekking, because you don't start trekking until the 5th day, just because of how remote it is and how hard it is to get to. So days 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, 5 days, you're trekking for sort of 6 to 7 hours. I'll go through in a bit more detail. And then on the final day, you end back in Bir, and then we travel down to Delhi, leave on day 11, and typically we'll arrive back on day 12. It just depends on the flights. They're not in range for another few months, so we don't quite know what the schedule will be. But we'll either arrive back the same day or the following day. On the bottom left, you can just see the yellow square is where the bigger map on the right is. So we're high up in the north of India. It's in the state of Himachal Pradesh. And on the top left, you've got here, you can see Dharamsala. So we'll go from Delhi up to the train station and then drive to Dharamsala. After exploring Dharamsala, we'll then travel over to Bir, which is over here, if you can see my cursor. And on the right where you've got the green trekking symbol, that's the area that we're doing the 5 days of trekking in. But all of it takes place in Himachal Pradesh in the north of India. Typically, I mentioned it's a challenging trek. A challenging trek will test someone who's relatively fit and has a spirit of adventure. You are trekking, you are camping in parts. You're traveling on an overnight train, so you need to have a sense of adventure. But like I said, with 13 months to go, there's plenty of time for anyone to get fit enough to do the challenge. None of the trekking is technical, it's just walking. It's not at altitude where it'll affect your breathing, as some sort of higher altitude treks do. But it is 6 to 8 hours each day for 5 days of walking. So you need to take, that into account. But the actual trekking is not, too challenging, other than the fact that you're doing it for that length of time each day. 15 to 20 kilometers in a day. 20 kilometers is about 12 miles. So again, if you imagine that, it's not so much, but you've got overnight flights, you've got overnight train, you're not in a hotel until day 3. So, you might be jet lagged, you might be tired from not having a great night's sleep on the train. So all of these things are factors. You've got heat and humidity, and just being away from home, away from family. So all of these things contribute to the challenge, as well as the physical trekking. Altitudes of just under 3,000 meters. I think the highest point is just over 2,700 meters. High altitude typically starts above 3,000, so you're not quite at that point. Trekking through remote areas, we didn't see a single non-local, villager. We didn't see anyone trekking through the whole of the 5 days. On one of the nights, we stay in a hunting lodge, and there were maybe 2 or 3 people staying there that night, but it's in the middle of nowhere, really is. So it's, I guess people do pass by, but typically the trek, there was no one the whole time we were there, just schools, temples, monasteries, villages, like residential, walking through villages and just seeing life going on. So it's a real highlight. And then obviously camping, lodges, hotels, train, a mix of where you'll be sleeping. It's mountainous. The whole trek is up and down. There are no sort of significant uphill sections. There's lots of up and lots of down constantly. Each day there's 2 or 3 ascents and descents. Well-established mountain paths. And then just a suggestion, we offer discount if you are doing an international trip and you want to take on a UK one. So doing some training in the Lake District or Snowdonia or the Highlands in Scotland, all would be good training for this. Maybe something to consider for next year if you do sign up closer to the challenge. In October, you can expect the temperature to be anywhere in sort of 20s to mid-20s, so warm enough to be pleasant, not too hot to be intimidating. Obviously, it's in the mountain especially, it's very hard to predict. Typically, there will be little rain at that time of year, but again, in the Himalayas, as in any mountain environment, it can change unexpectedly. So you must, every day you'll be trekking with waterproofs and a fleece in your bag, even if it's 25 degrees and you're walking in shorts and a t-shirt, because what looks beautiful when you set out in the morning easily could, within half an hour could change, and the last thing you want is to be wet or cold. At night, the higher we go, the colder it gets at night, and it could well drop below 0 in the evening. So I'll talk about clothing and equipment and so on shortly. So just in a little bit more detail, so we fly from London and we fly out to Delhi, typically a direct flight to Delhi, arriving the following morning. You'll be picked up, taken to a hotel, have a chance to sleep for a couple of hours, freshen up, and then we'll take you to do some sightseeing. Again, we don't know the flight times, and it depends how early in the day we arrive. There are some great tourist spots to go and see, the Red Fort, but it very much depends on what time we arrive, because the traffic in Delhi is amongst the worst in the world. It can take you 40 minutes just to get around the block, you know, if the traffic's that bad. So what we don't want to do is go too far that we don't get back in time, because the same day we'll be checking in at the train station and boarding an overnight train up to Chaki Bank. So that train is very comfortable, air conditioned. It's a first class sleeper carriage. So there are seats, and when you're ready, the back of the seat folds down and becomes a bed. And there's either 4 or 6 of you in a carriage. There's air conditioning, there's electricity, there was Wi-Fi, there are blankets, pillows, sheets. So it's quite comfortable, but you are sharing a carriage in a moving train. As I said, you'll have missed one night of sleep on of proper sleep on the plane. So I slept perfectly well, woke up when they told us we were there, but other people didn't sleep so well. So, but it's a very comfortable setup within the carriage. So day 2, you arrive, bit of sightseeing, take the train. Day 3, you will arrive at the train station and then take a further 3-hour transfer to Dharamsala. Again, check into the hotel, have a chance to rest. And then in the afternoon, we walk from the hotel to the Dalai Lama's monastery. And we take, there's a route, a circuit around the outside, and then we'll go in and go in. And normally there are prayers going on, there's ceremonies, and lots of people come to pay their respects from all around the world. So it's quite a special place to be. The whole town is really based around the Tibetan community. So again, just walking around the stalls, the market, and so on, you get a good feel for things. So that's day 3, and then you'll stay in a hotel that night. Following day, we transfer to Bir. Again, it's another 2 to 3 hours, and that's where your base is. So it's an accommodation, like a permanent accommodation. It's not camping, so it's beds in rooms with ensuite, and you'll be staying there that night. And we just go for an acclimatization walk just to walk around the area, and you can see on the right we trek to a waterfall that day. So that's just like an introduction day. The following day, day 5, is when the trek begins, and you can see from the video and from the pictures on the right, get an idea of the paths, the terrain. You can see people walking in shorts and t-shirt. You know, during the day, you'll see other times when people are fully clothed up to the beginning and end of the day before the sun's properly up. So on this day, we're going to go over a pass at 2,500 meters, an ancient trading route, and then we'll head down to a village for lunch. In the afternoon, it says it's a favorite spot for bird watchers and nature spotters alike. Every day we saw Himalayan griffins. The Himalayan griffin, I can't remember, but I think it was like a 3-meter wingspan. It's a huge vulture. And there were times when we were that high that they were flying below us, but they soar across the sky in the thermals, just going round and round. So it was, you could just sit and stare for ages. So there's plenty of bird life. We saw footprints in the snow, but didn't see any sort of bigger leopard, puma, bear, or any of those things, but they are in the area. That night is the first night in camp. And I was trying to remember like the order of the camps, but I think it's this one on the right hand side, which is called 360, and it's because you've got these incredible, the campsite is on the top of a hill, and in every direction you get these incredible views. So they did say it's one of the most incredible sunsets, and it didn't, you know, fail to deliver. So we sat for maybe an hour as the sun slowly went down, took loads of photos, and then the lower it went, the more beautiful and orange. And you can see, like, from the picture, all the different ranges, you know, like the shades of grey or with the orange shining on them and so on. So beautiful. So that was the first night camp. The next day, you then go over a 2,700 meter pass, so slightly higher than the day before. And then again, in the video, there was a part where they were going through like farming, terraced farming areas. So that's this particular day. Again, camping. Following day, 2,300 meters. So we've gone up, we've come back down. Alpine pastures. And then this day you end high up in this hunting lodge. So depending on the size of the group and availability, we'll be in the lodge, or we'll be camping outside of it, or we'll be a bit of both. But you're trekking, you're in the middle of nowhere, and suddenly there's this lodge, which used to be an ancient hunting lodge. And so we stay there for 2 nights and do a trek out of there before heading back down. So that's day 7. Day 8 is optional. So we decided to go up to a high pass again, just to get some beautiful views. There was still a bit of snow left on the path. In fact, we had to change the route because the normal route was covered in snow. So we took this day, went up for 2 or 3 hours, had the most incredible views, had lunch, rested, and then trek back down. So if anyone is struggling or would prefer just to have a day to chill out and rest, you could do it that day because we stay in the same accommodation. But otherwise, I would highly recommend doing the trek and getting some of these incredible views. So that night we're back at the hunting lodge, and then the final day is the last day of the trek. Again, around 2,300 meters. And you end up at a little village where we have a celebration when we finish the trek, and then head down to vehicles that will take us back to Beer and back to the Dream and Adventure Centre, which is our base from the beginning and end. Day 10, we leave and head back to Delhi. We try and take in a couple of sites on the way. So there's an ancient, or that'd be 1,200-year-old temple that we go to, and the Norblinka Institute is all the history of the Tibetan people and their arts and their culture and so on. So that's something that we'll try and do before boarding an afternoon train back down to Delhi. It's a new train on a new route. The carriage would easily take on most of the trains I've been on in the UK. They have huge glass windows and the doors turn around 360 degrees. You can turn and face the people behind you, if obviously with their permission, if you know them, but you can also turn around 90 degrees and look out the window. So it's like a cinema screen, just seeing, and you go through Himachal Pradesh, then you go through the Punjab. So you see different, like different temples. So from Hindu temples and Buddhist monasteries, then you see Sikh temples, and just life as you go through. So you may well be exhausted and sleep. The seats recline, there's Wi-Fi, there's electricity to charge your phone and so on. But the views out the window are incredible. So that's a fast train down to Delhi. And then that night you have your celebration in Delhi, and day 11 will be depart, and day 11 or 12, depending on the flights. As I said, sometimes it's overnight. You will land back in the UK. So that's the itinerary day by day. A typical day will be wake up. You'll wake up as the sun comes up because it will shine through the tent. Our crew will come to your tent with tea, coffee, hot chocolate, and a bowl of warm water or a bucket of warm water. So you can have a wash, have a drink, just warm up, get dressed, come out, use the facilities, and then breakfast will be served. You have breakfast, you'll then grab a packed lunch, which you'll take with you. Clean your teeth, finish doing what you're doing, and then you'll leave your main bag behind, and you'll trek with just a day pack, a bit like you can see on the picture in the middle, the pink rucksack. So sort of 25 to 30 litres, and you'll be carrying a fleece, waterproofs, water, a couple of litres of water, your packed lunch, sun cream, mobile phone, sun hat, and that's maybe a basic first aid kit. That's pretty much it. So it's going to be something like 4 or 5 kilos, nothing significant. And that's all you carry during the day. And your bags will then be transported, with the exception of the night we stay in the same place. Your bags will be transported to the next camp and be waiting for you. And all you carry is what you need for the day. We will leave after breakfast, and after half an hour or so, when you've warmed up a bit, we'll do some stretching, some yoga, and carry on walking. And the day is I say easy. It's not a fast pace. You walk at your own pace. take it easy, stop as often as you want. We'll obviously stop for breaks, we'll stop for a longer period for lunch. Typically, the local crew will cook something over lunch to go with the packed lunch that you're carrying, and that's a time just to rest. And then in the afternoon, we'll carry on again, take breaks, toilet breaks, photo breaks, lots of opportunities to take photos and video. And then we'll get into camp normally around 3, 4 in the afternoon. So in good time before sun goes down, in order that you can have a wash. Again, you'll get a bowl of warm water, so you can have a wash, change out of any cold, sweaty, wet clothes, get dry, get warm. Picture on the left is actually me, but with shirt, fleece, down jacket on. Again, on the left is one of the mornings. So, you know, when the sun goes down or is slow at coming up, it's cold. It's really cold. You're high up, sometimes above the clouds, or if there's no cloud, there's nothing to keep the heat in. So mornings and evenings are, you know, with all your gear on to keep warm, again, hot drinks, and then during the day, hopefully t-shirt, shorts, clear skies, you know, mid-20s temperature. In the evening, dinner served. There's nothing for you to do but eat, chat, relax, and when you're ready, head off to bed. Even in the campsites, there are permanent buildings where we dine, where you can fill up water, use toilets. There are Western toilets in all the camps, obviously in the hotels. So yeah, that's a typical day for the 5 days of trekking. We have leaders, assistant leaders, a doctor from the UK, drivers, and then all of the crew in the middle. Most of the crew in the middle are actually camp and cooks. So putting up tents, taking them down, preparing the food, and just organising the logistics. There's quite a large team of people, but all the guys in the blue t-shirts that you can see on the left and the right, those are leaders who will be with you, escorting you during the course of the day. And you'll also be joined by a charity rep from Myton Hospice. Accommodation, so the right-hand side is the sleeper train. So these beds fold up to be the back of a chair, so you can sit until you're ready to go to sleep, and then they just pull down. Like I mentioned, blankets, sheets, pillows, power, so they're quite comfortable. There are toilets, there's Western and Asian toilets on the train. The middle is the first camp, again, beautiful sunset, that's the 360 camp. So the tent itself, we provide the tent, we provide mattresses, but separate to that, there is a toilet block and a shower block, and the dining is inside. So there are facilities there, even though the campsite is just on the top of a hill. On the left is one of the more comfortable campsites. Each of those tents has like a sleeping area, plenty of room inside. You can jump up and not touch the ceiling, they're quite large. And at the back of the tent, there's a zip, and behind it is a sit-down toilet and an area where you can have a shower. So when you get given a bowl of warm water, you can take it, have some privacy, and you can wash there. So that's pretty comfortable camping. There are toilets in all of the camps, hand washing stations. I mentioned you'll get tea, coffee in the morning, in the evening, and a bowl of warm water for washing. And all of the breakfasts and dinners will be served when we're camping in camp, and the packed lunches en route. The middle photo is the Dream and Adventure base. So that's where you are on the sort of first and last night in the Himalayas. Lots and lots and lots of great food. No one went hungry. Mix of Indian and Western. So breakfast would be porridge, but also Indian style food. Always lots of bread, toast, eggs, cheese, spreads like jams, and so on. Packed lunch will be, as you would probably expect, sandwiches, crisps, chocolate, fruit, but normally it's supplemented each day where the crew would be cooking something. We'd arrive at a village or a hut, and they'll get cookers out and heat up some warm food or some soup or something just to supplement that. And then the dinners will always be a 3-course meal, so soups. Primarily, there's meat and there's vegetarian. The main diet is vegetarian, so for any vegetarians, don't worry that it's a substitute. The majority of the food is vegetarian with meat addition, but the food was excellent, so a real pleasure. And then there'll be some kind of dessert, again, Indian style. They like to introduce, not just from Himachal Pradesh, but different foods from different parts of from different parts of India. When you book, you'll be asked if you have any diet, allergies, medical, so you can let us know, so we can make sure that we can cater for you, whether that be gluten-free, vegan, vegetarian, whatever. We hopefully will be able to cater, but we just need to know in advance. We'll provide drinking water every day, so you don't need to treat the water. You can't typically drink the water in India, but you'll be able to drink the water that we provide to you. And we'll provide snacks every day as well. So when we stop for breaks, they'll pull out a bag full of snacks, biscuits, crisps, and again, like dried chickpeas and things that are local delicacies. We'd recommend you bring some of your own snacks with as well, whether it be energy bars, dried fruit, nuts, just something that you know you like. Because after lunch and before you get into camp, your energy levels drop. It's good just to have something to pick you up a bit before you get into camp. Okay, kit's quite important. The most important thing will be that you have a good pair of hiking boots. And by good, I don't mean expensive. They don't need to be expensive, but you do need ankle support. You do need good grip, which all boots will have. And the most important factor would be comfort. You know, when you go and try boots on, if you don't have a comfy pair already, when you go and try a size larger than you would normally have. Again, bottom middle, you can see a pair of socks. That particular brand, Bridgedale, is very good, but hiking socks are thicker than regular socks. So if you get boots in your regular size, you'll find that with hiking socks on, your toes are at the end of the boot. It could be hot. You're certainly going to be walking for 5 days, you know, on rocky terrain. Your feet are going to swell up a bit. So again, it's much better to have a slightly bigger boot size than you would normally wear. So boots are really important because you're going to be on your feet the whole of the challenge. And for those 5 days of trekking, you want to make sure that you're comfortable. So that's important. And my advice would be to get that piece of kit as soon as possible so that you do all your training and you get comfortable. The boots will mold to your feet. You'll find it much, much more comfortable than leaving it till the last minute. You've got, I'm not sure whether you can follow my cursor. So you've got a day pack. That's probably about 35, 40 litres. Probably, I mean, it's fine, but probably a bit bigger than you need. But that's the kind of thing that you can, that you'll be carrying during the day. And then below that is a soft-sided holdall. Ideally, it's something that is not a suitcase because we load things into vehicles and the soft-sided bags are just much easier to stack, to carry. You will need to carry your bag, for example, when you go to the train station for the overnight train. The stations in Delhi are massive, bigger than anything I've seen. So you're up and down steps, across a bridge, down steps, along a platform for a mile, you know, to get to our carriage. So you need to be able to carry your bag. So whether it's on wheels or straps for a backpack, but it should be soft-sided, at least, you know, the ones with wheels have hard underneath, but soft on top. Sleeping bag, bottom left. You are going to be in a tent and it could be cold at night. So we recommend a 3 to 4 season sleeping bag. You can hire some of this equipment. So on the right, you can see there's a kit list. There's a company that you can hire stuff from. They will ship it to you a couple of days before the trip and pick it up from you by courier a couple of days after the trip. So you don't need to spend a fortune on clothing and equipment. Some boots are really important, but don't need to be expensive. But the other stuff you can hire if you can't borrow from someone else, or you don't want to buy, or you don't have. Water's important, so you've got hydration tablets or sachets, so each day just to replace some of the salts that you lose through sweating and through trekking. But all the food we provide has nutrients in to help you to get that back in your body. This is a water pouch, like a platypus or a bladder. So that goes, you fill it with water, it goes in your backpack and the tube comes over your shoulder and you can just sip regularly without having to stop and take your pack off or get your water bottle out. And then obviously you've got a more traditional water bottle, but you will need to carry at least 2.5 litres of water with you when you leave camp in the morning. Walking poles, some people swear by them, other people prefer not to use them. I would advise you just to see if you can borrow a pair and try and walk and see. You are constantly going up and down. It helps you get into a pace. It helps take pressure off your knees. Definitely helps you coming downhill. So I would say it's worth looking into and just seeing. But have a look through the kit list, and much nearer the time we can do another webinar and just talk you through kit specifically. Like I said, some of the dry stuff, you need a passport. You will also need travel insurance. We recommend a specific policy, but you can have, as long as you have insurance, that's fine. But we do need to make sure that you have insurance before travel. You need a visa. British citizens need a visa for India. We will provide all the information 3 months before in your account area, with application forms and what you need to do and what answers you need to put in certain questions. Just a heads up that because of the relationship between India and Pakistan, if you have Pakistani heritage, so it doesn't mean that your passport is, but you could be a British passport holder, but with Pakistani heritage, it's harder or can be harder to get a visa to India. So just something to be aware of. We've got a group of 120 going out in November this year, and all of our participants with Pakistani heritage have all managed to get a visa. So that's good to know, but we have also had problems in the past. There are no vaccinations that are compulsory to go into India. It's just recommended that you're up to date with the regular ones. To be honest, traveling anywhere around the world, MMR, typhoid, diphtheria, polio, those kind of things, tetanus. So just being up to date, but there's nothing that you need to have in order to get in. We're going to talk about what you need to do to get on the challenge in terms of payment and fundraising. But essentially, once you've done that, pretty much everything is included in the trip. So you don't need large amounts of money when you're in India. Certainly in Delhi, there isn't a huge amount of time. You arrive, a bit of sightseeing in the hotel, leave very early, leave that night. When you come back, you arrive in the evening, we leave the next morning. So there's not a lot of time to spend money. When you're in Dharamsala, when you're in Bir, there are lots of scarves, lots of Tibetan bracelets and things to spend money on. So if you know that you like that kind of thing, then obviously you can bring a bit more. There are ATMs in the towns, but nothing once we start the trekking. Credit cards will work. ATMs there. You don't really need that much money. We recommend about £200 in total. And that would cover tipping at the end and any sort of spending money. Okay, if you are interested to join, there are two options. One is the self-funder, one is minimum sponsorship. Self-funder is where you pay all of the travel costs to do the challenge, and then you're asked to raise a minimum of 500 for Myton Hospices, obviously as much as you can, and every penny is profit for the charity. So when you book, you pay 425. You can pay that over 2 months, so you can pay half now and half in 31 days. It'll automatically come off your credit card, but you can spread that over 2 different months. You'll then be invoiced for the balance 10 weeks before the challenge, and that covers all your travel, so every penny goes to and is retained by the hospice. The other option is called minimum sponsorship, and that is to pay the same registration fee now when you book. You can pay it in installments over 2 months. You then have to raise a minimum of 3,600 for Myton Hospices, and a portion of that will pay the balance of your travel costs, and the bigger portion will stay with the hospice. But you'll be asked to pay a contribution towards the fuel and air taxes, which is capped at 250. It could be less. It just depends what the fuel element is in September, October next year. But we'll invoice you for that 10 weeks before the challenge. So for one, you're covering all your costs. There's no minimum requirement. You just raise as much as you can, asking for 500 or more. And the other option, you are committing to raise a minimum because the charity will be paying towards your challenge costs. What's included? So before you go on the trip, once you've booked, you'll get access to a password protected account area. There are lots and lots and lots of resources. So on fitness training programs, warm-up, cool-down, stretch programs, discount on UK events if you want to do some training, fundraising, sponsorship forms, fundraising ideas, clothing and equipment, discounts from stores, hire, kit list, the itinerary, the trip notes, responsible tourism, visa, passport, travel insurance. There's lots and lots of resources in this account area. On the challenge, so flights to and from the UK, leader, full support team, staff, medical supplies, guides, drivers, cooks, entrance into national parks. You'll get a t-shirt, a neck buff, and a medal at the end. All of the group camping equipment, tents, mattresses, pillow. You just bring the personal items on the kit list. Drinking water, 3 meals a day, everything from first meal when you arrive in India, or actually first meals on the plane, and then when you arrive in India, all the way through to the flights on the way home and landing back in the UK. So all meals are included. Accommodation. So accommodation is 2 nights on a plane, 3 nights in a hotel, 1 night on the overnight sleeper train, 2 nights at the Dream and Adventure Centre in Beer, and then 4 nights of camping. So the majority of the trek actually is not camping, but just during those trekking days. Internal road transfers and rail because of the overnight train and the daytime train on the way down, and then 24-hour support. The items that are not included are getting you to and from Heathrow for the departure, vaccinations if you need any. As I said, there's nothing compulsory. Travel insurance if you don't have cover. Tips, we recommend about $10 a day apart from the travel days, for the days when you're in India, and then a visa. From memory, I think the visa was about £25, and you can apply online. On the right, it's just a screen grab as an example of the booking process. So if you go to the webpage, I believe Natalie will send out an email tomorrow with a copy of this recording. You can share that with any friends or family or anyone else you think might be interested. You can re-listen if you've enjoyed it that much and you want to hear it all over again. And there will be a link to the video, and there'll be a link to the webpage. And from that webpage, there's a book now button, and you'll get through to this stage. So we captured diet, allergies, medical, passport, t-shirt size, and so on, all of that information. You can see on the right, you can add on an extension for the Taj Mahal if you want to. And then your information will be shared with Myton Hospices. They will approve you to fundraise, and then you get access to your account area. So that's the next stage, is the booking process. And then here, the picture on the right is an example of the account area. So you've got a homepage, all of your booking details that you've given, some challenge documents, the flight details. They're not yet in range, but when they are, they'll be there. Travel insurance, responsible tourism, a whole section on fundraising, fitness training, clothing and equipment, connecting with each other and connecting with us. So if you've got any questions, you can come straight through to us. And then, excuse me, when the fuel air tax element is due, or the balance if you're self-funding, we will email you and upload it into your account area, and you can go and pay that online. That is the end of my kind of like formal presentation. I'm going to open it up if anyone wants to unmute and ask any questions. Please feel free to. Natalie, I don't know whether you want to leave the recording going for the questions, or turn that off, but
yeah, I can maybe go for if there's any questions.
Can I ask a question, please?
Please do.
Do most people travel alone or as in groups? Because I was thinking, you know, women traveling on their own in a group. I mean, that was just a, you know, safety and that kind of thing, really.
I would say the opposite is true to what you might imagine. And from the minute you arrive at Heathrow Airport, there's very little time where you're actually on your own. So you will never be a single person traveling. Apart from being with other members of the group, as I said, leaders, doctor. So there will be times, for example, I mentioned on the first day, we'll get to Delhi, we'll go to the hotel. You've got a couple of hours where you can freshen up, have a sleep. There's nothing to stop you going for a wander if you want to, but there's no time where anyone is on their own. So I'd say the majority of people join as individuals. There's no problem with husband and wife, brothers, friends, whatever, joining a small group. You will, if you've never done a challenge like this, it's life-changing, because you will meet other people, and within 48 hours of shared experience, you'll be talking about the most personal things, you know, that you haven't told work colleagues who you worked with for 10 years. Like, it's so, again, like from the video, that was the trip I was on in March, and there were 13 or 14 people on that trip, and they're just the tightest group of people. They're all individuals, but you know, they've really sort of bonded on that trip. So anyone and everyone is welcome. And if you come with a partner or a friend, you come on your own, everyone will mingle, integrate, and, you know, get to know each other. Certainly safety is not anything. I wouldn't advise people to wander alone at night, you know, take money out of the cash machine on your own, things like that. But that's the same in any country, in London, you know, or anywhere. just be sensible, but you will not be on your own. Again, like on the train, we get carriages where we're all together we'll have a number of carriages, but where we're all together in the same compartments and so on. Apart from the train, all the travel we do is private, so private coach, private 4x4 vehicles. The accommodation, we take over the accommodation that we use, the campsites and things. So you're never on your own.
Lovely, thank you.
Similar question, actually. Same situation. I'm a female wanting to come on my own. My husband thinks I'm mad. But in terms of the tents,
Yes.
would you be guaranteed that you would be with another woman?
Yes. Yeah. So basically, when you sign up, so we will put men with men, women with women. If there is an odd number, then someone will end up with a single tent. But yeah, generally speaking, you will never put a man with a woman sharing.
Okay.
Yeah, it's our responsibility if we need an extra room to provide a single that will do that. The hotels are all a twin share en suite. The lodge, if you're inside, again, was twin share en suite. The dream and adventure might be 3, 4, 5 people in a room en suite. And then the camping will be tents where it'll be 2 people.
Okay. And another question I had is, if you add on the extra bit where you go to the Taj Mahal, what date would you fly back?
From the top of my head, it was 10th to 21st. So you would come back on the 24th. I'll double check that. It'll be the 23rd or the 24th. So it's quite a short extension. You take the train to you go to Barrackpore and the bird sanctuary, then you go to Fatehpur Sikri, and then the same day you end at Taj Mahal, and then you come straight back. So I think it's 2 days or 3 days, so about the 24th.
Okay. And then the only other thing I was going to ask was, so the flight there, you said you fly overnight. I was just thinking whether we would need to travel down like on the Thursday night and stay over in London, or do you travel down on the Friday? Just thinking of
It's too early. It's too early. I don't know what the flight schedule will be. Okay. Generally speaking, we're going 5 or 6 hours ahead. And it's a 9 or 10 hour flight. So it just depends what time we take on, what time the flight is but you're definitely going to arrive the next day. I would imagine it's probably earlier in the day and you might need to come down the night before. But as soon as we've got flights, they don't come into range until November this year. So we've still got another 3 months before they're in range, and then we'll have a better idea.
And when the flights are available, we'll look at a coach transfer as well. So those that want to travel together down on the coach, if they wanted to, they can let us know at that point. Then we can put out an approximate price and then let you guys know at that point as well, because it's something that we've done before too.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate the anxiety or concern about traveling on your own. I started doing this because I wanted to do a challenge, and none of my friends, to be honest, were up for it. So I went on my own and never looked back. And I know, again, like I said, lots and lots of people are concerned that everyone will know each other. I guess you guys probably, if you're signing up now with a year to go, probably will do some fundraising activities together. You can go for walks and train together. Certainly set up WhatsApp groups and Facebook groups and get to know each other, so you don't feel like you're turning up alone. But the majority of people will turn up at Heathrow not knowing anyone, and then on the first day when you arrive in country, there's a bit of introduction to the leaders and to each other. But like I said, it's incredible within 2-3 days of being out of your comfort zone. Everyone's in the same position. You're all raising money for the same cause. It's amazing how quickly you connect and find kindred spirits.
Great, thank you. My fear was the altitude, but you answered that quite early doors.
Yeah.
Worried that was a bit of a problem from what I'd sort of researched. So
yeah, you're not going anywhere near the altitude that would cause you a problem.
Okay, thank you.
Jeremy.
Sorry, I couldn't unmute myself. Yeah, just for info for people on the call, I've been on the last 2 treks, and we've always done training in the local area, and we've always had a WhatsApp group. So yeah, you do tend to know people when you go. Across COVID, obviously the training was somewhat disrupted and the trek was postponed twice, but yeah, there was a great opportunity to bond before we travel. So you do know people before you travel, because we are doing it all for Myton rather than some of the other charity treks where people just meet for their own individual charities.
Yeah. Just quickly.
Oh, sorry. Did you say there was somebody from Myton going on the trek as well?
Yes.
There is, right, okay.
Yeah, so Natalie's on the call, who's coordinating from the Myton Hospices side of things. So Natalie, I don't know if you want to say anything around in terms of potentially
We
getting
are
people together.
sending, I'm hoping it's me. We are sending we are sending somebody out there, likely to be me. I haven't actually asked the question yet, but I just assume so. Hopefully it'd be me to go. That I love India. I think it's one of the most beautiful countries in the world. I was lucky to go when I backpacked years ago, and it is honestly stunning. So yeah, when we looked at all the different options, this one was just incredible, to be honest. So and I've also went alone, and I'm actually meeting people on Saturday from who I went to China with 7 or 8 years ago now. So you do completely bond straight away, and it's, I don't know, a very special experience to get to do it, to be honest.
I'm just going to address, there was a question in the chat. Do you have an option for travellers not living in the UK? So anyone could join the challenge and meet us in Delhi. So if someone wanted to come and it didn't make sense to fly back to the UK to then fly out to Delhi, so someone could either, let's say they were coming from the States, they could come to London and fly with the group from here, or if someone was already in Asia and they just wanted to meet, they would meet us in Delhi on the first night and finish on the last night before we depart. We would reduce the cost to take into account that we weren't providing flights. So that was Sue. If you've got any specific question, you can email Natalie and we can give you an answer when we know where that you or whoever might be coming from.
Yeah, that was me. Thank you. I'm in Europe, so I'm in France, and quite often the flights are easier from Paris. So it just depends, or Toulouse, depending. So
yeah, there's flexibility if that's better for you.
Great, thank you. That's great.
That's right. Sophie, you've got your hand up.
Hello, can you hear me? Okay.
Yep.
Lovely. Hi. Just a quick question. Do you know how many people have booked already? How many people are on the, have already booked to do it?
I think we're just waiting on this presentation, to be honest, to send out the link and get people booking on. So I think you're at the early stages.
Oh, right. Okay. Also, another question that I'm sorry, it's not going to be relevant probably to anyone else. I'm a paramedic, and I was wondering if it would be useful for me to be on the trip. Not that that would be a reason for me to be on the trip, but I've just wondered if I could be of use.
Absolutely, yeah. There will be a UK doctor with a full med kit with prescription medicines and so on. But to be honest, it's normally a paramedic type. If there was an emergency, it's more a paramedic than a doctor. So yeah, it would definitely be useful to have you there. I'm sure people will be grateful. God forbid there's a need for your services.
Lovely, thank you.
Any other questions? Just to say that you can email Natalie with any questions. Again, when we send out like further updates, we can address if there are any questions like flying from abroad or anything else like that. We are doing another or planning to do another session in October. So like I said at the beginning, we hope the majority of people will sign up and we'll just complete the recruitment with a year to go. So there's plenty of time for people to fundraise and train for the challenge. But between now and then, if anyone's got any questions, feel free to reach out, I guess primarily to Natalie, and then we can coordinate answers with her.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Is there an age limit?
Upper or lower?
Upper.
No. No, there's no upper age limit. I mean, we take thousands of people all around the world, and generally speaking, I won't say older, the more mature person knows their body better, walks, trains, reads the information that's given, and normally more prepared participants than younger people who just turn up, think that they can do it, push themselves too much and then end up hurting themselves or getting injured. So there's no upper age limit. Unless you tell me you're 99, there might be an issue with getting insurance.
Oh dear. No, I'm joking.
I mean, typically the average age will be sort of I'd say mid 30s to late 50s. But that's not saying that that's an upper age limit. We have people in their 60s, 70s. We've even had someone of, I think, 78, 79 do Everest Base Camp. So age is not a factor. The only place it might be an issue is with travel insurance. Sometimes they have an upper 70, 75 or 80 as an upper limit to providing cover. But in terms of fitness, if you can walk for 5 days you know, for the 6, 7, 8 hours, then there's nothing to stop you doing the challenge.
Okay, thank you.
Any other last minute questions? So just, if I can, just take the opportunity to end as I finished. As I said, 25 years, I've been fortunate enough to travel around the world. This trip has everything. It really is a phenomenal trip. I kick myself that I waited 25 years to do it from you know, us operating it. Full of incredible places, but this part of the world, this part of India, this part of the Himalayas, with the, you know, with the Buddhist element and the Hindu element, beautiful mountains, the food, the camps, the views, really is, you know, stunning. So I wholeheartedly, you know, recommend it, and would be very happy to like separately answer questions if anyone's got anything that they don't want to ask, you know, in a group call being recorded. If you've got anything you want to ask, feel free to, as I say, message through Natalie.
And on that note, I can stop recording now.
Yeah.
Simon.